Hello and welcome. I'm Michelle Shepard, and today we're going to talk about how exercise affects fat loss, but also how it lowers cancer risk in honor of this month, the Workout to Conquer Cancer. I'm taking part with a team of friends in order to raise money to support cancer research and patient care. But I think this is a really important question, and there's some things we sometimes get wrong when we are using exercise for fat loss. So let's talk through it. Number one, exercise is a really important component of cancer prevention, and cancer affects 1 in 2 Canadians. This is a really important thing to think about. And it does that in kind of 2 major ways, and likely more ways we don't yet fully understand. Number one is exercise is a really important component of maintaining a healthy body weight, but also a healthy body composition. So as you guys know, I'm not a big fan of BMI for assessment of individuals, but maintaining a healthy fat to lean mass ratio is linked to better outcomes and reduced cancer risk. And that is in part because when we have too much fat, it dysregulates things like hormones in our immune system. And when we're at a healthy weight for our body, whatever that looks like, it helps those things work better. And our immune system is a major player in cancer risk. The other thing that happens is when we exercise and challenge our bodies a little bit, that little bit of damage and inflammation that happens actually triggers really big anti-inflammatory pathways. And so that is going to help repair and also prevent damage to DNA in our cells, which keeps the risk of cancer lower. So overall, including exercise in whatever form you can is an important part of risk reduction. Let's get on to how exercise affects fat loss and what you should actually be focusing on. It might not be what you think. So number one, exercise is going to increase your overall calorie burn. And that seems obvious, right? So if we move our bodies more, the total amount of calories we burn every day goes up. And that means we have a little bit more flexibility with food. You won't have to eat so little to maintain a small calorie deficit that helps you lose fat. So exercise can be a really important key of finding that balance. The second thing it does is it increases our muscle mass or muscle density. And muscle is much more metabolically active than fat mass. So it burns more calories every minute. For someone who is the same weight, person A, who has much more muscle, is going to burn much more calories than person B, who might be the same weight, but is more fat than muscle. And so having that healthier body composition makes weight loss easier because your base metabolic rate, the calorie burn, even without exercise, goes up. So really, really important. This one is especially important for my women, and especially those in perimenopause, menopause, as muscle mass starts to track down if we don't stay right on top of it. And the last thing it does is it helps regulate sleep, insulin sensitivity, and our stress response. And these are big 3 we talk about in my group program and my one-to-one programs because they're such key players for our metabolic rate, which means how many calories we burn. So helping to manage those 3 is going to make fat loss a heck of a lot easier. And those are more important than we like to give them credit for. As much as food is key, it's not the only thing that matters when it comes to fat loss. So I'm going to share a quick slide with you. We're going to take a break from our usual today. And this is taken right from the exercise week in the Lose Weight with Confidence program. And so what I want you to notice is we got a triangle here. And what is more effective, where we should spend most of our time for fat loss, is on the bottom. And what is less effective, or we should spend smaller amounts of time focusing on for fat loss, is at the top. So the things you want to spend more of, that big bulky bottom, things you can absolutely do but might not be as effective at the top. And what I want to start saying is that any exercise is good exercise. So first and foremost, do exercise you enjoy and do exercise you can sustain. There's nothing more important than that. If Zumba lights your heart up, do Zumba. If you love to row or paddle boat, row or paddle boat. If walking or yoga is more your speed, that's awesome. So first and foremost, enjoyable, sustainable. Once you've got an exercise routine under your belt, if you're looking to optimize exercise for fat loss, there's a few things I want you to think about. So after the food, which we talk about all the time, you'll notice that the next biggest one is actually strength training. And that can include things like weights and kettlebells and barbells. It can also be body weight and bands. It doesn't have to be big, heavy lifts. But strength training is going to give you more muscle mass. And it's also going to increase your calorie burn for 12 to 24 hours after exercising. So although you might not burn as many as, say, running in the hour you're doing it, you get that bump over a longer period, which generally works out in your favor. And so if you're doing this more often, that can really play out as far as more accelerated fat loss. The next thing is metabolic conditioning, or things like HIIT workouts, high intensity interval training, where there's sort of a strength or body weight component, and you do intervals of like high intensity with lower intensity or rest periods. This has been shown in the research to really help with insulin sensitivity, which is a big reason my clients have sticky or sluggish fat loss, and also will give you a bit of a bump in calorie burn over a longer period of time once you're finished. And at the top there, you'll see cardio. So if you're from my generation, we were all trained to just like run more, elliptical more, hit that Stairmaster longer. And cardio does burn the most calories per hour or per minute, depending on your intensity, right? So if you're working pretty hard, but as soon as you stop, it stops. And what we want to do is make sure once we have a base of exercise we enjoy, if we're looking at optimizing, focusing on strength training or metabolic conditioning, HIIT style workouts that are going to give us that extra bump in metabolic rate so that we get a nicer calorie deficit without having to eat less and less food. So always remember, do things you enjoy, trust your body, don't force into things that don't feel good. But if you're ready for a little bit of a challenge, focusing on those two areas might be really helpful for you. And I'm curious to know if you guys have any questions about exercise and nutrition, pre and post workout. I'm going to have probably at least a weekly exercise and nutrition component during Workout to Conquer Cancer. And I would love to answer all of your questions here or over on my Instagram stories. Thank you so much for riding along, and I can't wait to see your questions.